Good day. I am Sarah May Salazar. Today I will discuss about how we eliminate hazard and risk in the hospitality industry. Eliminating hazard and risk in the hospitality industry. Our learning objective are first is to identify the difference between hazard and risk. The second one is to enumerate the types and examples of hazard and risk. The third one is to discuss the process or ways on how to eliminate hazard and risk in hospitality industry. And the last one is to give the importance of having these ways. Hazard versus risk. When we say hazard, it is something that can cause harm, while the risk is it is the chance it can be high or low that any hazard will actually cause somebody harm. As we see in the picture, hazards could include working with heavy machinery, using chemicals at works, a poorly set up workstation, or strained office relationships. A risk with this picture would be a danger that this situation may pose. For example, are the physical injury, chemical burns, and increased stress levels. For you to know what is hazard and risk is, let's proceed to its type and example. Types of hazard. So the first type of hazard is safety hazard. When we say safety hazard, it is unsafe working condition that can cause injury, illness, and death. Safety hazard include slips, trips, and falls, operating dangerous machinery, and electrical hazards. Those that work in the utility sector are more likely to be at risk of safety hazard. When we say biological hazard, it's exposure to harm or disease from working with animals, people, or infectious plant materials. So, biological hazards are includes the virus, bacteria, yeast, molds, and others. So, physical hazard, it can be any factors within the environment that can harm the body without necessarily touching it. So, the example of physical hazard are the nails, the fake nails, or the earrings, and other materials that we see in the person. So, ergonomic hazard. When we say ergonomic hazard, it occurs when the type of work, body position, and working condition put a strain on your body. So, ergonomic hazard affect individuals whose work puts a strain on their body. So, manual roles that require lifting or sitting for a long period can cause damage over time. This hazard may not be noticeable at first, which makes them much harder to identify. If use improperly adjusted workstation or have poor posture when performing manual roles and heavy lifting, they may be at risk of injury. So when we say chemical hazard, it presents when a worker is exposed to any chemical preparation in the workplace in any form. It can be solid, liquid, or gas. So chemical hazard is mainly threaten employee whose role expose them to dangerous liquid, solvents, or flammable gases. Individuals who are mostly likely to be affected are those who works in cleaning facilities, engineers, and employees in the field-based roles. Exposure to harmful chemicals can cause illness, irritation, and breathing problems, and in extreme cases of death. So the last one is the work organization hazard. It is safety hazard or stressor that can cause stress. It can be short-term effects or long-term effects. So this hazard can be experienced in any job role. However, lone workers may be struggle to voice concern due to their isolated work environment. Those are the types of hazard, including the safety hazard, biological hazard, physical hazard, ergonomic hazard, chemical hazard, and the work organization hazard. So upon knowing those type of hazard, let's now proceed to the risks that may occur especially in the kitchen. So risk into accident. So risk and accident are different from each other because when we say accident are reactive while the risks are preventive. So the common work-related injuries in the food service industry are the following: the burns, cuts, slips, trips, falls, fires, ergonomic risks, and others are the cleaning chemicals, CO poisoning, hot stress, cold stress. So when we say burns, these are the injury from contact with a hot surfaces of equipment, flames, hot food, liquids, and others. So example of it's when we cook, we got burns because of cooking, we touch the hot surfaces of the equipment. So the cut is a skin opening from an accidental inclusion of sharp objects can cause exposure to blood-borne pathogens such as hepatitis B and HIV. So example of it is when cutting ingredients, when we communicate to someone while we are cutting ingredients, it can lead to a cut of our skin. So the third one is the slip, trips, and fall. Open ranges, stove doors, kitchen doors, trolleys, stairs, defective ladders, footstools, and wet, cluttered, or slippery floors are common causes of injuries. So when floor is wet, it can cause injury, which is the slips. So the fourth one is the fires. Accidental ignition of hot oils and greases, paper materials coming into contact with hot stoves and ovens, faulty electrical equipment, wet electrical equipment, and appliances are usual causes of fire. So when we use the equipment with a wrong using of it, it can lead to a accident, which is fire. The last one is the ergonomic risk. So ergonomic risk is injuries from posture when sitting, kneeling, and standing. Incorrect lifting techniques and forceful motions or grips of an object can cause ergonomic risk. So ergonomic risk is occur when we are not following the right posture of our body. So I gave you one scenario as an example of hazard, risk, and accident. So as you see in the picture, wet floor is common in the kitchen by sometimes spilling of water and other types of liquid ingredients. In this scenario, wet floor identified as an hazard because it can cause injury or other harmful events to a person. This person can be sleeps in the environment because the floor is wet. So the risk can be low or high. It depends on the exposure of a thing or person to a hazard. The high it exposed, the high the possibility of leading to an accident. It is also depends on the awareness and being responsible of a person. So if the person is aware and responsible about the things that he do, it will lead into his safety. But if the person is not aware, it increases the possibility of having an accident. The risk will determine the outcome if it's going to be safety or accident. So I hope this example enlightened you about the difference of hazard, risk, and accident. So let's proceed to the ways on how to eliminate those hazard and risks that I've said before. Ways on how to eliminate the hazard and risk in hospitality industry. Elimination is the process of removing the hazard from the workplace. It is most effective way to control a risk because the hazard is no longer present. It is prepared way to control a hazard and should be used whenever possible. So the first thing that you must do is to identify and analyze health safety hazard. So identifying and analyzing health and safety hazard is very important, especially in the workplace, in the reason that it brings safety and awareness. So when it comes to the first one, so by identifying the hazard, assessing the risk involved, and then controlling or eliminating this risk, the consequence or likelihood of illness, injury, and death are being reduced. So the second one is to conducting hazard assessment. Having an assessment to hazard that may potentially occur is very useful for the workers to identify the equipment's environment that can cause harm. So, hazard identification and risk assessment will help you to recognize and control hazard in your workplace. It also creates awareness among workers. So, being aware help you to reduce and to eliminate hazard and risk in hospitality industry. So, the third one is wearing proper uniform or PPE. When we say PPE, it stands for Personal Protective Equipment. So, wearing personal protective equipment will protect the workers against the health or safety risks on the job. So, PPE is equipment that will protect workers against health or safety risks on the job. The purpose is to reduce employee exposure to hazard and to protect workers from infection and to prevent contamination. When you use the gloves while preparing food, it helps you to reduce contamination within the food. The fourth one is the training of workers. Education and training are important tools for informing work managers. So the fourth one is training of workers. Education and training are important tools for informing workers and managers about workplace hazard and control so they can work safely, confident, and productive. So, knowledge and skills needed to do their work safely and avoid creating hazard that could place themselves or others at risk. When the employees are trained properly, they are confident to do things and to be more productive. Having emergency plans. Emergency plans is a tool to respond in emergency scenarios and non-routine situations. So emergency present hazards that need to be recognized and understood. Non-routine or infrequent tasks, including maintenance and startup shutdown activities, also present potential hazards. Plans and procedures need to be developed for responding appropriately and safely to hazards associated with foreseeable emergency scenarios and non-routine situations. So, when there's an emergency, the emergency plans, we can execute it when the danger scenario is occur. Following rules and regulation. Following guidelines keep employee healthy and protects their well-being. So by following rules and regulation, they can perform the jobs more effectively and be confident that they don't have any worry about being injured or suffering from illness. Inspecting or monitoring of environment. So monitoring and inspecting allowing us to accurately assess existing controls alongside risks to develop an effective plan of action. By having plans, it is easy for us to execute when the problem is occurred. Having safety program. Safety program helps workers to be informed about all the safety procedure they must do to lessen and prevent the occurrence of hazard and risk. The main goal of safety and health program is to prevent the workplace injuries, illness, and deaths, as well as the suffering and financial hardship this event can cause for workers, their families, and employers. Being aware and responsible. So this two-factor is the top tool that we must apply as always to be presented because you are the key to your safety. Employers can reduce hazard by providing regular awareness training to draw attention to the risk, how employees can respond, who they should communicate. Employers can reduce hazard by providing regular awareness training to draw attention to the risk, how employers can respond, and they should communicate their concerns so that they are not put in risk. So when we say being aware and responsible, we have to be aware all the times and be responsible of all the things that we should do. Aware and responsible all the time because our safety is based and it depends on us. We should be responsible on all the things that we should do. Applying all safety measures. Apply those safety measures to be safe as much as possible and to eliminate the said hazard and risk. So, we should apply those safety measures for us to be safe and to prevent and eliminate hazard and risk in hospitality industry. So, to sum up the ways on how to eliminate the hazard and risk in hospitality industry, it includes the identify and analyze health and safety hazard, conducting hazard assessment, wearing a proper uniform or PPE, training of workers, having emergency plans, following rules and regulations, inspecting or monitoring environment, having a safety program, being aware and responsible, and last is to apply all safety measures. So these ways are very important for us to be safe all the times and for us to be aware of the hazard and risks that may occur in unexpected events. So this way is help us to prevent or to eliminate hazards and risks. And please always keep on your mind that you are the key to your safety. So please be aware and be responsible all the time, and be responsible on all the things that you do, because your safety is in your hand. So that's all. I hope you understand about the difference between hazard and risk, and also the ways to eliminate the hazard and risk in hospitality industry.